You are now watching the True Mets Talk podcast live stream. We will be going live shortly. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Shallow right field, stumbling start for Stewart. It's close to deep left field by Alvarez. He's homered in 4 straight games for the second time in his. He's homered in 4.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the True Mets Talk Mets Spring Training live stream. Happy Pi Day. It is March 14th, 2024, and we're going to be talking a little bit about this Mets-Cardinals game that just concluded. Not too much action, as you all can tell, and as you all know, 0-0 ball game after 9 innings. But before we get into that, we'll talk about the pitching, we'll talk about the offense or lack thereof. As always, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up, subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. We're about 14 subscribers away from 600. Definitely want to get there as soon as possible. Tell your friends, tell your family, and hit the live chat with your thoughts and opinions. True to the Orange and Blue and We Bleed Orange and Blue memberships are now live. Make sure you become a channel member today. And if you are a member, spam those special emojis. Make sure you let me know in the chat how you're feeling about this team, and you know where to find me on all my social media handles at CPNYSports, X, Instagram, all that good stuff. The same exact handle as my YouTube handle. I got my fresh new Mets gear in today. The little sweater too was an early birthday present, so I definitely appreciate that. It's a great look, and it's a great time to be a Mets fan because the season is rolling around. Got some people in the chat. Darren Rivera, member of the channel, saying LGM. Darren, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate the support. We got Ethan in the chat as well. What a slow game. Absolutely. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I did bring out the glasses today. I usually wear glasses all the time. Not usually on my streams, but I had to switch it up here in honor of some Mets spring training baseball, some day baseball too, because I like these Mets day games in spring training a lot more than these evening games. So we get it done out of the way early. We get to do the stream early, and we get to enjoy the rest of our nights, which is exactly what I like. But let's talk about this game a little bit. 0-0 game. Obviously, spring training, we're not worried about the final score. The Mets are 9-8, and they remain 9-8. On spring training so far here through about 18 games with this tie. Last night, obviously, we went in-game live stream with Talking Mets with Rob. We were talking about JD Martinez, JD Davis. If you missed that last night, it is on the channel. Make sure you go check that out. We were also doing a little bit of an in-game live stream, I guess, tweeting the news. We broke the news thanks to some people in the chat about Dylan Cease heading from the White Sox to the Padres, so that was cool. Make sure you go check out that stream as well. But you can see here, starting with the offense, it was an absolutely boring game. Only 3 hits on the day for the New York Mets in total. This was a total pitcher's duel on both sides. Jose Butto getting the start for the New York Mets versus Lance Lynn, newly acquired Lance Lynn for the St. Louis Cardinals. Both had their A games. You can see Nimmo took the 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Lindor, Alonso both took the 0 fers as well. Zach Short has been very impressive, went 2 for 3 and had 2/3 of the New York Mets hits today. So shout out to Zach Short. He's been doing it with both the bat offensively and the glove defensively. He looks very good, but there's a big backlog of infielders right before Zach Short as well when we talk about the opening day roster. So that is something to definitely take into account, but it's good to see the Rylan Bannons, the Zach Shorts, the Jose Iglesiases like make their presence felt this spring to make sure that this front office knows that they have options as it relates to this third base sort of competition that we keep having to talk about with the lack of production. But the third hit of the day did belong to Mr. Brett Baty. I think Brett Baty had a pretty solid game, looked really good defensively. He's up to 250 in terms of the batting average. I know batting average is what it is, especially here early in spring training. We're not going to judge these players based off the batting average this early, but nonetheless, back up to 250, single on the day today. He put a very good swing, a very good charge into the ball. I believe is in his first at bat versus Lance Lynn on a 3-0 pitch, and it looked absolutely like it was going to be a no-doubter off the bat. And then you see the wind kind of carrying, it kind of keeps in the ballpark, and it actually ends up being a warning track fly out. But nonetheless, I like the aggression on 3-0 from Brett Baty, not wasting any time, swinging with the fastball right down the middle. He knew Lance Lynn was going to challenge him, and he put a great swing on the ball. So that is the sort of process I've talked about. Processes here early on to spring training. That is the process that I like out of Brett Baty, putting those confident swings on the baseball. Obviously, second at bat, a little bit of a rollover to the first baseman. It is what it is. But the third at bat really smoked the ball, I believe, to right field pull side for a single. I like that. And obviously, he was scratched yesterday due to back tightness. We broke that. We didn't know how severe it was going to be. Everyone said day to day. We were like, okay, we'll see if this translates into something more. But nope, right back into the lineup. Brett Baty at this point, like you almost get a feeling that he knows he can't afford to miss any time with how close this sort of third base, I wouldn't say competition is, because I truly do think that Brett Baty is going to be the opening day third baseman, and he's going to be that third baseman for a while. There is really no competition, but he cannot afford to lose any reps in spring training here, still trying to get going with the bat. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Mark Vientos in this game simply due to the fact that he did not play, but Mark Vientos yesterday, we all know he's batting under 200. I believe he's up to over 200 just by a smidge after that solo home run last night against the Astros. He also needs to get it going, and it's good to see that confidence. Third home run of the season for Mark Vientos. It was a no-doubter. I get that the success rate here has been few and far between for Mark Vientos and Brett Baty, but when you start bringing in discussions like JD Martinez, the ongoing conversations of JD Martinez, as well as JD Davis, you have to realize that these guys, Mark Vientos and Brett Baty, it's not like, I want to say they're killing the baseball, because they're not, but we are still seeing a little bit of spark to their games. And I'm not going to make any excuses. They have been less than impressive compared to what I would have liked to seen early on in spring training. But nonetheless, you get these flashes of brilliance that you can just be like, okay, listen, I might see something. And when you talk about JD Davis, just to address the JD Davis conversation, JD Davis hit 248 last season, 18 home runs with an OPS of 738. Do we really think that JD Davis can't, or that Mark Vientos can't match that 2023 production that JD Davis put up? I simply, like, yes, I know Mark Vientos hasn't been impressive so far early in spring training, but do you really think that he can't hit 248? Do you think he can't put 18 home runs over the course of 162 over the fence? Like, how much of an upgrade with the bat realistically is JD Davis going to be? Now, I know JD Davis plays third base. He has a good savant metrics in terms of his arm strength, in terms of his range on his savant page. I get it. He can play third base, and that gives you a glove immediately at third base, especially if Brett Baty doesn't produce. But nonetheless, offensively, you're not really getting too much more than Mark Vientos when you compare those two bats. Now, I know that he's probably going to hit more home runs than Brett Baty. Brett Baty at this point seems to be a 12 to 15 home run kind of guy. JD Davis may be more 18 to 20 home runs on a good year. But nonetheless, like I said, I don't think the Mets are going to prioritize, no matter how cheap he may or may not be available to the New York Mets. I don't think the Mets are going to take away at bats to get a JD Davis. I think Sanders, I'm not sure if you're in the chat, maybe watching the replay, you proposed Evan Longoria on the stream to us last night. I'm super good on Evan Longoria. I do not want him sniffing any time at third base for the New York Mets. So that's just my initial feelings in terms of third base category. But you can see here, Luke Voit at this point, this is a guy that I was like, maybe he has a chance at cracking this opening day roster if DJ Stewart doesn't put it together. Maybe Mark Vientos doesn't put it together, but he's fallen off a cliff, 0 for 3 Ks. I'm not even sure what I was thinking with Luke Voit there. That was actually my mistake. I apologize. But Harrison Bader, I want to talk about Harrison Bader real quick, because he has been less than impressive with the bat. And this has been what we have come to know about Harrison Bader over the last couple of years of his career. He hit 232 last season between the Yankees and the Cardinals. The Cardinals broadcasters were talking a little bit about Harrison Bader early on the broadcast today, saying, we know what he brings with the glove. We know that already. He's an elite center fielder, probably the best in the game when he's healthy defensively. What is he going to bring this team offensively? That is the biggest question mark. And I get it. He can be one of the best center fielders defensively in the game. And I know David Stearns has stressed run prevention through and through, especially up the middle infield and center field. But when it comes to Harrison Bader, if you're not hitting and you have a Jet Williams or Drew Gilbert literally in the wings, like ready to come up and they can play those positions and they might provide you a little bit more offensively, then I don't know how big of a leash Harrison Bader's going to have. Now, if I had to guess, just based off the fact that he got the 1 year, $10 million deal, a little bit of an overpay in my estimation for Harrison Bader and his services, then I can probably imagine he's going to get a little bit bigger of a leash no matter what happens offensively. But it just kills me to see, because early on in spring training here, I know it's just spring training at the end of the day, but Harrison Bader is just like a foreshadow, a foretelling of what we're going to get offensively when the games start to become, I guess, real, when opening day hits. And I'm just like, we can't have a black hole there in that 9 spot where Harrison Bader is going to be. So I don't know what the Mets plan is moving forward for that center field spot. Obviously, by default, if there's an injury that happens to an outfielder, then you'll see one of those guys come up, and Jet Williams or Drew Gilbert will see who's first up in the pecking order. But I think that if Harrison Bader really doesn't produce at the bat, you saw him get an opportunity to drive in a run today. He actually chopped it back to Giovanni Gallegos, I believe, who's on the mound, and Harrison Bader got doubled up. I'm not even sure how he got doubled up on that play, because there's a slow hit, and Harrison Bader's known for his speed. Gallegos went to third, and the third baseman went to first to double up Harrison Bader for an automatic 2 out. So that's just something that really can't happen consistently in 2024 if the New York Mets want to succeed, and that's what I'll say. We got Steven checking into the chat. What's up, Steven? I appreciate you. We got Lane checking into the chat saying, let's go Mets. And Darren is saying, oh, and sorry about that, Stevie. I apologize. I don't want to skip over you. Stevie's saying, Mets fans, we want JD Martinez. David Stearns, did you guys say you wanted JD Davis? That's certainly what it seems like, Stevie. That's certainly what it seems like. Like I said, obviously, any Mets fan is probably going to prioritize JD Martinez over JD Davis. You'd be crazy not to. But I'm good on JD Davis. I'm simply good on him. There's nothing more that I need to say. Obviously, he's capable with the bat, but like, where is he going to put the Mets over? Is he going to put the Mets over the top compared to Mark Vientos? Like, how many more games realistically do the Mets win with JD Davis over a Mark Vientos or over a Brett Beatty? It's not going to be by much. The margin is very slim there. So it just does not make sense to take away that developmental factor. And I know a lot of Mets fans don't have patience, and they're sort of still in denial that the Mets are still in on this sort of developmental type season while trying to win at the same time. But trust me, that's congruently happening. Those two goals are congruently happening with the New York Mets right now. So that's my take on that. Darren saying, I think Beatty could hit 270 with 15 to 18 home runs, 30 doubles, and 75 RBIs. That would be like a fantastic season for Brett Beatty, Darren. Like, I agree. If we get anything close to that, then I am head over heels happy, because I see him more of like 240, 250, maybe 12 to 15 home runs, and like hopefully he gets that 75 RBI mark. The RBIs are very hard to predict. Obviously, it's very situational, but I think that this would be an elite season from Brett Beatty if he produced what you have on the screen. I don't think it's going to go that far. I don't think he's going to hit 270. I don't think he's going to sniff anywhere over 15 home runs just by looking and judging his swing, his swing path right now. And obviously things could change. This is just spring training. Maybe he's trying out something new. Maybe he goes back to his roots, and I don't know. I don't know mechanically what he's going to do. But if I had to guess, it seems like he's prioritizing being more gap to gap. Obviously, not much success here in spring training so far, although he is hitting 250, a little bit more singles than a double swing. We'll see what happens. But this would be a great season for Brett Beatty if he was able to produce 270, 18, 30, and 75, like you're saying. As always, guys, we're about 14, 15 minutes into the stream. Not much I want to say about this game. Not really much I want to say about this team that I didn't say last night on the live stream. Like I said, check that out as soon as you're done watching this. If you are in here, we got 90 people in the chat. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. If you're new here, if you're watching on X, make sure you go over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate that's the best way that you can support the channel, getting me to 600 subscribers. And we have a little bit of a giveaway. As soon as we hit 600 subscribers, I will be giving away a CPNYSports long sleeve t-shirt. The We Bleed Orange and Blue members get this t-shirt, but I will be giving 1 or 2 away away and doing a little bit of a giveaway. So make sure you follow me on all my social medias at CPNYSports, which is where I'll be promoting this giveaway as well. And as always, if you're in the chat, make sure you hit that thumbs up for me. I definitely appreciate it. That's another way you can definitely support this stream directly. Okay, let's talk about the pitching, because this is where I was a lot more excited about this game and the pitching front than the offense. Jose Butto. Wow. I've been wrong about Jose Butto. Like, I knew that he did very well to end last season in 2023, and that's when he sort of started to come alive. I understand that, but he is doing, like, his performance so far in spring training really is proving me wrong. Like, I didn't have high hopes for Jose Butto, especially making a case to begin the season on the open day roster, because he does have an option. We'll talk about the bullpen and the options and how it's shaking on the next slide. But Jose Butto, 4 innings pitched, no earned runs, 3 strikeouts, got huge strikeouts when they mattered, had a couple of situations, first and third, got the huge strikeouts, and then got the subsequent out to end the innings, didn't give up a single earned run, and he's posted a .90 ERA so far in spring training. He is making a legitimate case for him to grab one of those bullpen spots as the long man to open up opening day. Now, as you mentioned, or as we've mentioned so far on this stream and in streams past, the options is something to watch. We'll get into that in the next slide. But Jose Butto does have an option available, which might hinder him, because this pitching across the board, not only the starters but also the bullpen, is they're lights out right now. They're, like, plain and simple. All of these guys that take the mound for the New York Mets, maybe with the exception of a guy like Nunez last night, who came in and gave up a couple earned runs. Obviously, those guys are not going to be in the consideration or in the running for an open day roster spot. The guys that are certainly turning it on. You see Adam Ottavino hasn't let up earned run so far, I believe, over 2 to 3 appearances in spring training so far. He looked great. 2 strikeouts to his name today. Austin Adams, 3 strikeouts in his lone inning pitch today as well. He looked phenomenal. Funky delivery, getting righties off balance with that funky delivery. It looked good. It looked good. Yohan Ramirez, 2 innings pitched, up to 95, 96 miles per hour, 4 strikeouts, 0 earned runs as well. Another name to watch out for here in the bullpen as we approach opening day. Oh, and by the way, Jose Butto with that 4-seam fastball was up to 97 miles per hour. Absolutely electric factory out of Jose Butto, and that slider changeup combination for the off speed that he used to get those strikeouts in crucial situations in crunch time today were working phenomenally as well. So this pitching, very impressive. And this bullpen shakeout come opening day is going to be something to watch out for. It seriously is. Darren mentioning in the comments section, on an interview with Butto, they said he touched 97 on the gun. Yes, absolutely. Just went over that electric fastball. Like I said, we need to start prioritizing a little bit more as Mets fans, that electricity that was missing all of 2023 long. Like, not many guys last year were touching 98, 99 in the gun, or even 97. A guy like Yohan Ramirez appearing in the game today, hitting 96, even 97. I've seen him hit so far in spring training. A guy that was also picked up from the White Sox for nothing, basically, by David Stearns and Yohan Ramirez, and Jose Butto as well, like Darren is pointing out in the chat here, hitting 97 on the gun. That is something that really needs to be reinstated into this Mets pitching staff, because I think that's what's been missing, right? So that is really impressive to see. But even more so is, like, how do those put away pitches look for Jose Butto? That changeup looked lethal today. Jose Butto is known for his changeup, and that was working. The slider looked really good, late movement, and same thing for Austin Adams as well. So you can see, I'm not sure if this is a credit to the pitching lab, because a lot of these pitchers, their off speeds, like, they possess sweepers, they possess sliders. And this is something that the New York Mets, in my conversation with Ernest Dove a couple days ago on the live stream, if you missed that 2 nights ago, make sure you go check that out, is something that Ernest stated the Mets are starting to implement from top to bottom with this pitching lab, prioritizing this youth in the farm system with all the tools necessary to develop pitches that they may have never thought they could develop before. Cutters, sweepers, sliders, all that good stuff. all that good stuff. So that is very encouraging to see. Obviously, a pitching battle here today. The ball game ends 0-0, and the Mets remain 9-8 on spring training. Let me know what you all think in the comments section. Hit the live chat. Like I said, hit the live chat. I want to know what you all think, like whether it pertains to this game or the Mets in general. Who's been impressing you so far? What do you think about Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Jose Butto, all that good stuff as we go ahead and transition here from this game and talk a little bit more about this bullpen that's been really impressive so far in spring training. A little bit of a competition that I foresee this team needing to make into tough decisions in the front office as we head to opening day. Oh, and by the way, I know that we were in game while Luis Severino was pitching last night, but Luis Severino, I have very high expectations for him. He looks absolutely amazing. The only blemish last night was that opposite field solo home run off of Luis Severino. He's looked phenomenal. Obviously, Jose Quintana, who's also looked great this spring training. You notice the trend here? I'm saying everybody looks great and they look phenomenal. This is something that really has been the case early on for the Mets pitching here in spring training. So, and those two guys are no exceptions. Shout out to Luis Severino. Expecting huge things this season from Luis Severino. Huge things. I'll just say that. But let's take a look at this bullpen here on the left-handed side of your screen. This way, right here. This is going to be the race for the last couple of bullpen spots for the New York Mets. And I just want to take a quick second to shout out Joe DeMayo. He posted something on the bullpen earlier today. Sorry, got something stuck. He posted something early in the bullpen today in terms of like who he thinks are going to be shoo-ins for the bullpen versus who is still vying for those last couple of spots, and how hard it is to judge right now with all these guys in blue who are vying for those last spots in the bullpen and how they're doing so well. And you can see here in those candidates, I've tossed up their remaining options associated with them, because that is something very important to keep into consideration when the Mets make these decisions on who has options versus who hasn't, as well as do the Mets go 5-man or 6-man to open up the gates. If I had to guess, they're going 5-man rotation with a potential swing man or spot starter in that bullpen, which will take up one of those bullpen spots in general right off the bat. But who is that swing man going to be? Who is that long man going to be? That is the question. You have Joey Lucchesi and even Jose Butto as options, because I think that we can assume with the way Tyler McGill has come out firing here in spring training so far that he has secured that 5th spot in the rotation. I think Jose Butto probably is a little bit better in my estimation, if I had to just humbly put an opinion out there, than Tyler McGill. But we all know Tyler McGill has been shaking that bullpen when the Mets tried that out in seasons prior. So I don't think that's going to be an option here to start off opening day. But you do have Jose Butto and Joey Lucchesi. And I'm very shocked to see that Joey Lucchesi still has an option associated with him available, which also might hinder him from making the opening day roster as well. So Jose Butto and Joey Lucchesi are your options for the long man, both with one option apiece. Shintaro Fujinami probably is going to be this odd man out if I had to guess, especially if the Mets are keeping Drew Smith. He's looked phenomenal, painting corners at 96 to 97 miles per hour. He's had all of his pitches working, and Shintaro Fujinami has looked good. He's still ramping everything up, hasn't really touched 98, 99, 100 like we know he can, but the location has been good with Fujinami, which is a great start to spring training. That's exactly what I wanted to see him starting off here with the New York Mets. He has 3 options available. Now, that is huge, and that is not going to be in his favor to make the open day roster. And I know it's going to piss a lot of people off to see him start in Syracuse and AAA. And I'm not saying it's going to for sure happen, but all I'm saying is get ready for it, especially because you have these guys in the middle that don't have any options left, and they're more veteran options. And they've been proving in spring training here early on just why the Mets can't afford to open up the season losing them through the waiver wire or what have you to start off this season. So that is Sean Reed-Foley. No options available. He's been striking out hitters left and right. Michael Tonkin and Austin Adams with those bender of slider sweeper combinations, whatever you want to call it. I have a very hard time differentiating in game the sweeper versus the slider. There's very subtle differences that only really, I guess, professional hitters can tell, or professional pitchers can tell you about. But nonetheless, they do have great off-speed pitches, and they are also out of options. Michael Tonkin is a guy that I was very excited for when the Mets got him this season because not many people were talking about him. And I was actually looking in at his Savant page and just looking at the movement on that sweeper that he had to possess. And I was like, wow, this could play definitely well for the New York Mets. And it has so far in spring training. So who's going to get these last spots? The guys in orange here on your left, Edwin Diaz, Brooks Raley, Ottavino, Diekman, Lopez, and Smith. I think they're consensus shoo-ins, especially with the way Jorge Lopez has looked here so far. I think that obviously he had a rough first go at it, a couple back-to-back nice bounce back outings for Jorge Lopez. And we know the ceiling that he has in being that all-star closer in 2022. I think we can see a reemergence of that. But I'm pumping the brakes on putting those lofty expectations on him this early. I think that he's going to be great, but I think he's definitely a shoo-in. I have to just wait and see how well he's going to do. He's going to be put in the lower leverage spots. Jorge Lopez is going to have to work up to a potential 7th inning guy. He's going to be more in the 6th inning if I had to guess for the New York Mets early on. And Drew Smith, I don't want to make him a shoo-in. And in past podcast episodes and past live streams, I've definitely said that he's not a shoo-in, but just everything that my gut is telling me about the New York Mets front office and how they view Drew Smith and this bullpen, with him being the longest tenured Mets pitcher on this roster, I truly think that Drew Smith is a shoo-in come opening day. Now, I've been on record saying that Drew Smith is going to have a very, very short leash. With the plentiful options that the Mets have, right? We just talked about Fujinami, probably going to be waiting in the wings in AAA if Drew Smith fumbles the bag early on this season. Same thing with the Joey Lucchesi or Jose Butto to get one of those spots. Like Drew Smith can't afford to get off to a slow start, or he may never get the chance to recuperate from that because he'll be gone and DFA'd by the Mets. So this is how I think the bullpen's going to shake out. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I said 5 starters to open out. That means you'll have 8 bullpen spots. Out of these guys right here on your screen, who are taking the last 2 bullpen spots? If there's a preference versus what I actually think might happen logically with my brain here. These are 2 lines of thinking. But I want to give you all just a second to sort of conjure up your thoughts and just let me know in the comment section in the live chat. With the 2 remaining spots, presumably, with the names you see here on the left, who would you prefer to take the last 2 spots? Let me know in the comment section. I'm going to prop them up. I appreciate it. We got Aaron in the chat. Shout out to Aaron. I appreciate you tuning into the stream. Just want to take a second to say, become a channel member today. We bleed orange and blue. True to the orange and blue. We got members on the channel already. Aaron in the chat, Darren in the chat. Ricardo's not here. Patty's not here, but they are also members of the channel as well. I want to shout out each and every one of the members on this channel for sort of supporting the podcast. It means a lot of perks, live stream emojis, custom t-shirts, member polls, all that good stuff. Just the tip of the iceberg of what's going to be offered on this YouTube channel. And as always, you know what I'm thinking here. Hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it. It helps the channel a lot. Just a little bit of a self-plug here as we kind of sit here and think about this Mets bullpen, because it's a little bit of a tough conversation to have with how many guys are doing very well early on this spring training. Eric is checking out the channel saying, with the last 2 roster spots, Eric would like to prioritize Austin Adams and Sean Reed-Foley for those spots. I like those 2 options. I don't think like any combination here of these names so far is going to be a wrong answer. And like I said, I like the way you're thinking because you're taking into account the options. Obviously, like I said, if I had to guess, the Mets are going to prioritize guys that don't have options right off the gates, because when you have Kodai Senga come back, that's when you can go ahead and shift to a 6-man rotation, presumably keeping McGill in the mix of things. And then you'll have to take away one bullpen guy, and that's where you'll have a DFA of either one of these guys, either Austin Adams or Sean Reed-Foley. Probably going to be Austin Adams if I had to just take a deeper dive in and guess. Because I think Sean Reed-Foley's stuff is electric, and I think he's going to be great for the New York Mets this season. But things change when Kodai Senga comes back, because you'll stick with a 6-man rotation when Kodai Senga comes back versus the 5-man rotation that I think the Mets are going to start the season off with. And then you'll have to take away a bullpen spot, which means one of these guys is going to be gone regardless. And then as the season progresses, McGill's going to have to, like, if worst case comes to worst, if McGill's not performing, that's very easy to take him away from that six-man rotation. But the Mets are going to have a difficult decision if McGill is performing well as that sixth starter when Kodai Senga is back. Like, what do you do with Tyler McGill? Like, do you prioritize another bullpen spot, or do you just keep 7 bullpen spots? Like, that's a very difficult sort of situation that the Mets may be embarking on if everybody keeps doing well here. So just some food for thought. Aaron is saying Fujinami and Sean Reed-Foley as his last 2 options. Very good answer here as well. But like I said, my only worry with Fujinami is those 3 options that are available, especially with him needing to still ramp up to that max velocity on the mound that we know that he possesses. It might be a situation where we see him start in Syracuse. And I know that a lot of people are very excited about him. I was very excited when we got him. I know a lot of other Mets content creators are very excited because we know what he possesses in his arsenal, the movement, the vast majority of pitches that he throws has a lot of run to it, especially with that fastball going down and into those right-handed batters. But like I said, it's just the trick of the trade here with these options. Like, with how well these veterans are doing right in the middle of your screen here on the left, he might be the odd man out to start off. Now, I think he's going to have a really good impact on this team moving forward, especially maybe in the middle part of 2024. I would probably guess maybe even earlier in 2024. I don't think the Mets going to wait all that way until like the All-Star break or something like that, because that would just be ridiculous. But to start the season off, I would just pump the brakes on that. Can I Live is saying, so if Fujinami is starting off in Syracuse and we have Jose Butto and Joey Lucchesi starting off in Syracuse, who's going to be the long man? That's a very good question. And that's why I've been making the case for a Joey Lucchesi and a Jose Butto in this bullpen as that long man. Like, that's who I want to prioritize in this bullpen to be that guy. Now, I know that they have one option a piece left still. So that's a very good question. I think that you can make a case that Michael Tonkin could be that. Sean Reed-Foley can get you a couple innings out of that bullpen if you need that sort of long man or sort of that middleman spot starter type sort of pitcher. But they're not well equipped to be that as consistently as a Joey Lucchesi or Jose Butto. So can I live? That's a very great question. And that's why I'm very curious what happens to a Jose Butto. And I think that he obviously has the edge right now with the way Joey Lucchesi has started off here in spring training, very rocky. We'll see. Jose Butto's impressive. You see here on the spring in green, top right, 0.90 ERA. All of his pitches are working. But is that going to be enough for the Mets to prioritize him over these guys in the middle? This is a wait and see situation. Darren's checking in saying Sean Reed-Foley. Appreciate you using the custom emojis. Aaron using the custom emojis as well. Like I said, when I prop up those comments here on my streaming platform, they show up as the algorithm and it's not linked to YouTube in that manner, but you all can see it on your end. I can't see it on my end. It looks like a bunch of different letters and numbers here. I appreciate you guys using those. It's definitely a little bit of a nice switch up here when you hit the live chat and you see the put it in the books, which I want people to start spamming in 2024 when the Mets start to win ball games. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. We're still in spring training. Can I Live saying he or she would give Butto the first shot? Yeah, absolutely. I think that I'm in the same boat here. I would definitely prioritize Jose Butto in this bullpen as that long man. I think that what he's producing right now is just inevitable. I think that he's definitely proven me wrong. And you know me, like, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I wasn't high on Jose Butto. Like, I wasn't down on him, but I just wasn't as excited about him as I was maybe a Joey Lucchesi coming back, obviously from injury, looking good in the tail end of 2023. I was excited for what Joey Lucchesi could provide in 2024, but Jose Butto is making me rethink a little bit how I view this bullpen and who I want this long man to be. So shout out to him, absolutely. But yeah, these are your options in the bullpen. It's certainly a great problem to have if you're the New York Mets, if you're David Stearns, and this shows you a little bit of insight of how genius David Stearns really is. I mean, you look at these 3 in the middle here. Actually, the top name, Fujinami, right? Let's just take a look at the orange and blue names here with the additions that were because of David Stearns this offseason, right? You have Adam Ottavino obviously coming back on a deal. I'm not going to credit that to David Stearns. Obviously, he came back. It was a little bit of an unusual situation. But you have Jake Diekman was a Stearns signing. You have Jorge Lopez was a Stearns signing. Fujinami was a Stearns signing. Tonkin, Austin Adams, and Yohan Ramirez were all Stearns signings / fines because we knew what Jorge Lopez was before. We knew what Jake Diekman was before, but we didn't know what we were going to get out of Michael Tonkin, Austin Adams, and Yohan Ramirez. And for that, to find these gems so far, and obviously I'm not going to say that they're going to be gems for the Mets in the regular season because this is still spring training at the end of the day, but just to equip yourself to begin the season with these options just is a little bit of insight of how genius David Stearns is at finding these gems of pitchers that have this movement like Tonkin and Adams or have that electricity on the fastball like Yohan Ramirez. So, yes, we got Mr. Foul Player here of Brooklyn. Peace, Mr. CP. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream. As always, I appreciate the support. Just wrapping up here in just a couple of minutes on the channel. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to David Stearns as well, because I think that this goes a little bit under the radar in terms of Mets fans' discussions of how this offseason played out. Everyone talks about the Mets going in for into the bargain bin and sort of not dishing out the top of the line money, but nobody's going to give him credit for these so far to this point in spring training gems of finds that could help solidify this bullpen to start off 2024. So I'm very satisfied. I think the bullpen's going to have a very big year ahead of them. A couple of question marks still in the rotation and how they hold up over 162. I like what I've been seeing so far out of Sean Manaea post that haircut. I like what I see from Luis Severino. I like what I see out of Jose Quintana. We'll see when we get Kodai Senga back, but this bullpen's going to have a lot of work cut out for them if I had to imagine. So this is a really good start to spring training, top to bottom from the bullpen, top to bottom. And Edwin Diaz, I mean, I believe I saw a report out there saying that he has to go back to his wife because he is expecting a baby here very shortly. So he is going to be leaving spring training here for just a little bit. And congrats to him on that. But he came in for his first appearance in spring training, K'd the side, I believe it was, struck out the side, looked electric, 14 pitches, very efficient. And that's exactly the Edwin Diaz, all-star Edwin Diaz that we know. Expect more of that. And with those new LED lights at Citi Field, when he comes into pitch in the ninth inning looking to close out a ball game, it's going to be absolutely electric. So that's been the stream, going on 37 minutes here. I know I'm rambling on and on and on. Talked a little offense at the beginning, talked a little bit pitching, and talked a little bit bullpen. Wanted to cover the basics again. Today was a 0-0 ball game. They decided to call it quits after 9 innings. Spring training results, scores wise and record wise, does not matter. They don't want to extend the game to sort of get anybody unnecessarily injured. I understand all that. So we'll be back with another spring training live stream here, schedule permitting. Keep an eye out on all the future Mets and Knicks content on the channel. If you're a Knicks fan watching this, a lot of Knicks content on the way as well. I appreciate everyone tuning in to this live stream, giving a little bit of a breakdown of the game and some opening day roster talk as it pertains to the bullpen. A little bit of third base. Like I said, I didn't want to talk too much third base here today because I exhausted that topic already. I exhausted JD Martinez and JD Davis on last night's live stream. Get a little bit more insight on my thoughts and opinions, and Rob, Talking Mets with Rob's thoughts and opinions on JD Davis and JD Martinez if you want to with that live stream. It's on my channel. You know where to find it. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Like I said, happy Pi Day, March 14th, 2024. Much appreciated. Let's go Mets. Until next time, you all, this has been another edition of the True Mets Talk Spring Training live streams. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Eric, Surf Player Can I Live, Darren, Aaron, Lane, Zach, Ethan, everybody that's been commenting here in the comment section. I appreciate you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all for the support on the channel. We have a last minute comment here. Eric B saying, Joel Sherman saying Mets considering JD Davis along with DJ Stewart and G-Man Choi for the last position player. Yeah. I mean, I can see it, right? I mean, I've said time and time again that we don't know who this last bench spot's going to go to. Everyone's been thinking before spring training is going to be DJ Stewart. I said pump the brakes on DJ Stewart. He hasn't looked great so far in spring training. Has had a couple of nice swings here recently, but the results haven't been there. Trace Thompson, another righty bat that's making a case there. Obviously, the lefty, when you talk about a DH as DJ Stewart or G-Man Choi, I like what we see from G-Man Choi, but I don't know if I'm going to buy too much into this JD Davis situation in these talks, man. I don't know if I'm going to buy too much into it. So we'll see, Eric. I'm not getting my hopes for it up for it. I don't really necessarily want JD Davis. I'd rather have JD Martinez, although I know that's a pipe dream at this point. A lot of people still getting up their hopes for JD Martinez, but we'll see what happens. So I won't bore you all to death with the bench talk. I'll talk about the bench here in my upcoming podcasts. Pre-recorded podcast, more on the way. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's been another episode of the Mets True Mets Talk Spring Training Live. I appreciate it. It's been your boy CP. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.
Thank you for watching the True Mets Talk podcast. Make sure you're tapping on that notifications button and checking out all the latest content on the channel.